In 2022, I quit my dream job and explored 18 countries across South America and Asia in 18 months. And during that time, I rarely ever heard an American accent. If I met 10 tourists, 7 would be from Europe, 1 from East Asia, 1 from India, 0.5 from Australia, and 0.5 from the US. So Europeans travel abroad much more than Americans, even though Americans earn higher wages and pay less taxes. Talking to many European tourists helped me to understand why, as well as why European countries consistently rank higher than the US in World Happiness Report rankings. And it's not just because Europeans travel more. Understanding exactly why Europeans are happier than Americans helped me change my lifestyle to adopt healthier and happier habits. Maybe it could help you too. A lot of the Europeans I met were traveling for 1 to 3 months, on vacation or sabbaticals from work. And it wasn't their first time doing so. Then they went right back to their jobs.
I started the 11 months trip around the world in 2023. So my company it was HSBC, banking company, and they allowed me to take 11 months off only because I was working there for more than 7 years. And after 7 years, they have the obligation to agree when you want to ask for this sabbatical. And the maximum time you can take is 11 months. It's not paid, but you have the guarantee that when you go back, you will get exactly the same salary. It's a rule that is only available for companies with more than 50 people. So if you work for less than 7 years, you can negotiate with the company you're working in to get maybe a 6-month sabbatical. I think a lot of people take sabbatical of 3 to 6 months. It's super common.
Back in 2022, I took about a 12-week break from work. I had been with my employer at the time for around 6 years, and I did about 4 weeks, I think, of vacation time that I'd kind of stored up, and then I did 8 weeks of unpaid leave. I went traveling with my partner and he took the entire period as unpaid leave, so around 12 weeks. And I think at the time that we went, he had been with his employer for around 5 years. We both went back to the same job afterwards.
Europeans typically get around 30 vacation days per year, and many companies allow their employees to take sabbaticals and come back to work.
So it was really nice to be able to go off and do some traveling and have a break, and then know that you've got a sort of job to get back to at the end of it.
Knowing that I had my job when I will be back made me super comfortable, made me also take the maximum days. I was working in finance with very highly competitive salary, bonus, extra package, etc. I was feeling super confident of my future life. But in the end, it didn't make me go back, you know?
That's why the Europeans I met didn't have to choose between career and adventure like I did. They didn't have to sacrifice their financial security for personal fulfillment like I did. This incentivizes people to take time off and live more balanced lives. Traveling full-time for 1.5 years taught me that one of the most important ingredients for happiness is balance, which is also backed up by research. But work policies in the US do not incentivize balance, like in Europe. I had to quit my dream job, which I had a lot of difficulty landing, in order to see the world. The average American gets just 10 days of vacation per year. I always felt guilty for taking all 10 days at once, so I take 5 days in the first half of the year and 5 days in the second half. I also did not have the option of taking a sabbatical and keeping my job, which is not common in the US. Just 8% of US employers offer unpaid sabbaticals, while 7% offer paid sabbaticals, according to a 2023 survey. Instead of having balance, I've lived a life of extremes. Even the most dream career or dream adventure is no longer enjoyable when you do too much of it. I worked about 70 hours a week throughout most of my 20s. I loved my work, but I was a burned out, anxious mess, trying to prove my worth to the world. All that hard work and sacrifice eventually landed me my dream job as a video journalist at CNBC. After 5 years at CNBC, I took a 1.5-year career break to heal my burnout and properly explore the other side of the world. That way, I wouldn't have to quit another job in the future to finish traveling. After all, getting a good job in a tough industry like journalism is very hard. So I traveled full-time for 1.5 years, which burned me out as well. The novelty eventually wore off. I was tired of constantly being on the go and longed for the comfort of home. After my career break, finding another job took about 6 months and was really hard. Because most US companies don't have sabbatical policies, I think the challenges of returning to the workforce after taking time off is what keeps many Americans grinding. It makes sense that many will choose the certainty of having a roof over their head over their mental health, even when they're burned out and anxiety-ridden. On the other hand, Europeans don't necessarily have to risk their survival to take time off for personal pursuits. That's what I think makes them happier. It's a lot easier to have balance instead of burning yourself out doing too much of any one thing.